Today's sponsor is Forever Barnwood. Guys, we have been using this in our renovation of our building here in Powell, Wyoming, and I am here to tell you it is amazing. They are a premier supplier of barnwood across the U.S. Their products come from fresh-cut Wisconsin white pine, which has been kiln-dried way below standard lumber and hand-processed into various products like barn doors, beams, flooring, and wall covering. This type of lumber product provides all of the advantage of reclaimed barnwood at a fraction of the cost, not to mention how easy it is to work with because it's straight lumber and it doesn't have all the waste. Their barnwood products are a renewable resource and come in a variety of widths and lengths, large sizes for countertops, beams, posts, stairs, and railing systems, as well as wall covering and everything else. Their prices are only a fraction of the cost elsewhere, and they can ship anywhere you need it. With their innovative barnwood products, you'll have the right piece at the right time for your special project. So check them out at foreverbarnwood.com, and no matter what your project is, Forever Barnwood has you covered. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Silencer Central. Silencer Central, thank you for supporting us. If you would like to support Silencer Central, if you have any interest in a silencer, which I encourage because it is a game changer in the field, check out silencercentral.com. They will walk you through the paperwork online, as well as they can ship that silencer directly to your doorstep. So check them out and tell them Ike sent you. Dustin, thanks for sitting down with me and talking hunting, and we'll talk hunting and shooting and snowmobiles. And, you're a Cody kid here, grew up, born and raised, and been in the outdoors your whole life. So let's go back to childhood. You grew up and your dad owned the sports shop, right?
Yep.
It was a motorsports.
Yep.
Like Hondas and...
He just had Ski-Doo, actually. Had no wheeled stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I added all that after we bought it. And yeah, he did snowmobiles in the winter and sporting goods in the summer and fall. He reloaded ammo, and he had a gun store and built custom fly rods. And
I didn't know he built custom fly rods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'll be damned. That's pretty cool. So
yeah,
you grew up outdoors, hunting, fishing, doing all that stuff. I mean, we obviously live in this place on purpose because it's unbelievable for recreating. And even if I had the chance to move, I wouldn't. There's no way in hell. So you got a brother. You guys grew up doing that. What was one of your first experiences hunting?
Man, bow hunting when I was 14. Back then we couldn't hunt in Wyoming until we were 14.
Yep.
Hunting mule deer with a bow. That was.
Did they have wheels on it, or was it traditional?
It had wheels, yeah.
What bow was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I think it was a Martin. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
That's cool. So,
yeah.
Snowmobile. You bought the store from your dad or from your parents? Mm-hmm. Actually, from your mom, probably.
From my mom. Yep. My dad had passed. Yep. And
what was the driving force there? And let's talk about that, because you were, let's talk about Ski-Doo. You were really instrumental in where Ski-Doo is now today with snowmobiles. I mean, every time I turn around, you had some new cool trinket. And you wouldn't even hardly talk about it because you're not a man of many words.
No. No, I started with Ski-Doo, obviously, as our only brand. And right after I bought the store, they added their first ATVs, the old Traxxter step-through ATVs. And
I remember that.
Yeah.
They were we used to call them the moped of four-wheelers.
Yep. Yeah, they weren't much to look at, but they were tough. And and then shortly after I bought the shop, I got on with what's called the Mountain Committee now with Ski-Doo, and we evaluated new product and helped with ideas for future product. So I was on that for, 21 years, I guess.
You were pretty instrumental in getting stock turbos, weren't you?
Yeah, I helped some with the turbo stuff. A lot of testing on aftermarket turbos and stuff with them, and yeah.
My first turbo was one of your aftermarkets that you created, one of your Frankenstein brilliant ideas. It was a fun sled, super fun. Now I go stock because I just like to ride. I don't like to screw with the fuel injection, changing the flow and all that stuff. But
And the stock ones run so good now.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. You can screw with them a little bit, but there's no reason to.
No.
There's no reason to.
No, they're beyond our abilities as riders now. So
that's right.
Just go ride them.
Yep. We didn't get to ride much. I got to ride about 3 times this year, just with shows. And it seemed like every time I was at SHOT Show or I was at Hunt Expo in Salt Lake, it was snowing like crazy up here. And I'd get text messages from the buddies going, "Oh, man, you should be here." I'm like, "Oh, you shut up. I'm standing here talking hunting," which isn't bad, but I like snowmobiling.
Yeah, that's 2 good worlds.
That's right.
Part of.
That's right. So one of the other things that you're involved in is a Wyoming Outdoorsman's group, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What is that?
So Wyoming Outdoorsman is a nonprofit. Was established in 2012. And we just do all kinds of youth programs and wildlife programs here in Park County and Bighorn County, Washakie County.
It's basically one chapter, right?
One chapter. Yep. We haven't... it takes so much of our time. There's 15 of us on the board, and we just haven't got the energy to branch out and start some chapters. But that's probably where it needs to go. You know, I think we're 700 members roughly, and we give back about roughly $125,000 a year in the basin,
which is almost all of the money you raise, right?
Yeah, basically all of it.
Everything that doesn't the banquet costs.
Yeah, yep, yeah. There's nothing. None of us are paid. It's all nonprofit and volunteer, and we do some great stuff with youth programs and some predator management programs.
So what youth programs are you guys focusing on?
We do all of the hunter ed in Park County. The Wyoming First Hunt, First Fish on a Fly.
Okay.
All kinds of youth programs. We do, probably roughly $15,000 a year to the Cody Clay Crushers. And
what's that?
It's a youth sporting clays program over in Cody.
Okay.
This year, for the first time, we sponsored the Powell Panthers clay team.
And they did pretty good, didn't they?
Yeah, they did really well. Yep. And we just sponsored them again for the summer program. So
very cool. I've actually heard, I know some of the boys on there, and I've had them. They were in a group of guys standing around talking, and they were just super excited about that. And what an opportunity as a young man, get away from the screen time and go shoot something, learn something from some really valuable guys, some knowledgeable, safety, all that stuff.
Yep.
And they were just excited about doing it again, and little brother's excited about first time doing it, and so it's very cool. I appreciate you guys doing that.
No, I appreciate it. It's a good program for sure, and geez, those kids have competed at the state level and national level. And I think one of the ones from Cody was in the top 10 national.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
One of the Gordon girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's saying something. National teams. There's places like Texas that's a religion almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. We knew a guy that was similar deal down in Texas, and he'd been doing it for 40 years or something. And I can't remember how many national champions he'd mentored, but it was in the 20s.
Wow.
Like, holy cow.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So so you guys do predator management. Let's get into that one.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So, we're trying to help the deer. Mule deer across the West are just devastated, and I believe that a big part of that is fur prices and the cost of fuel. No one's trapping, and coyotes are just a huge portion of that. And so, we did a coyote program. Man, it's been, I think we ended it 5 years ago, probably, roughly, don't quote me. So we started it maybe 8 years ago, and we ran it 3 seasons in Sunlight Crandall, and we had really good success. The fawn recruitment at the end of that was around 70%, which was the highest ever recorded in Sunlight Basin.
What did it start at? Do you remember?
High 20s.
Really? Mm-hmm. So what were you guys doing with coyotes? Trapping them?
We didn't do any trapping. we put out baits all over Sunlight Crandall, and the part of that is the key to that is timing. You know, killing those coyotes after they've been bred and before the deer have fawns.
Okay.
So, you know, killing them in November and December, all that does is the remaining coyotes ovulate more eggs. They have more pups, and it replaces that right before the deer fawn out.
Right.
So now you have all these dens full of pups that need fed, and so they kill deer fawns.
So the mother's got to work harder because she's got more pups.
Yep.
Because nature doesn't like a void.
You bet. Yep.
So you're killing them like March through June?
Through May.
Okay.
Yeah, March through May, and so we put out baits. And if the weather's good, if we get some cold mornings with some snow, we aerial gun them off those baits and the surrounding areas, of course. If not, we set up on those baits and shoot them. And
How many? So, well, when you say you guys aerial gun them, you know, like, so you have part of your committee's aerial gunning?
Nope.
Or is there?
We
because that's not
contract-
something you just learn overnight.
no.
Shooting out of a moving,
Yeah.
3-dimensionally moving.
I wish we could go do it. But no, we contract through the Park County Predator Board. We run the money through them, and then they pay Wildlife Services to go do the aerial gunning.
Okay.
And put out baits. And hopefully this winter, we're going to start another project this winter. And if we have some volunteers from the organization, hopefully we can help put out baits and sit on baits and do some killing. So
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Do you know how many coyotes you're killing in one of those winters?
I think we averaged a little over 90 a year.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not, that doesn't sound crazy.
It's not a crazy number.
It's just the right number
It's
at the right time.
Yeah, it's the timing. And I think 60% of those were female coyotes.
So you're killing them before they go to den.
Yeah. Well,
Mostly.
in May, you're killing
Yeah.
them.
But March, you're killing a lot of them before
Yeah.
they go to den.
Yep. Yeah, they might be pregnant, but
Right.
they're so that's an exponential amount of coyotes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's crazy. So in 3 years, did you say 3 years or 1 year? It went from 20
3
something,
years.
20 something to 70 something.
Yeah. 3 seasons it took to get to that number.
Do you know? So now that it's been 5 years, this really interests me because no one's really talking about this.
Right.
Just now, people are starting to talk about coyote predation and what how not just coyotes but bears and everything else, on how bad they are on fawn recruitment and calf recruitment.
Yep.
Do you know how many, because you guys went to 74% recruitment, do you know how that deer herd grew? Those numbers are public. I'm sure I could go find them.
We'd have to look at their postseason counts.
But it did, obviously.
It's growing, and like last year I saw when I was running around guiding elk hunters and sheep hunters, the results of that are 3.5 to 4.5 year old bucks that are increasing in number. And so now if we can tag 3 more years of that, which is our proposed plan, starting this next winter, which I'm actually really happy to see it. That the first program I did, Game and Fish was very resistant to aerial gunning anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot of talking and pushing on those guys to get it pushed through. And this time, Game and Fish actually initiated it. So,
Really?
yeah.
Well, I was going to say I'm surprised because they took $200,000 and dumped it into doing the same exact thing down in the Red Desert this last year, 2 winters ago.
Yep.
Just because of that die off, and they're trying to, and it's other things, factors as well, good winters and everything else. But it's significantly affecting their deer down there.
Yep. Yeah. They saw 80% fawn recruitment down there, which is the highest they've ever recorded in the Wyoming range.
Yep.
So
It's one of the highest they've recorded ever, period.
yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Anywhere outside of a controlled environment with no predation, it's
Right.
you're just not going to see that. And we saw similar results from a program that Wildlife Services just did on the No Wood River. they did 4 seasons of aerial gunning and baiting and killing. And I want to say they had 81% fawn recruitment. And in 4 seasons, that mule deer herd grew roughly 30%.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And that's on the no-wood, you said?
Yep.
That's good because they were in trouble.
They were in real trouble, and so that was their kind of last resort. But when you keep seeing these projects and the results every time are consistent, it's telling you something.
Yep.
You know, and our deer, unfortunately, like Crandall and Sunlight, they've never had good fawn recruitment in there, right? Because we're protecting bears and
coyotes and wolves and
the coyotes are
lions.
Hard to access there. There's not much for road access, even when we were trapping, right? And now you throw in wolves, and that's like the tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
When you already have low fawn recruitment or calf recruitment, and then you throw in an apex predator, you know, it's a huge deal. And it's pretty encouraging, actually, to see that if we can control one of those predators, we can have that kind of a gain.
Yeah, and you know, and they do put the smackdown on the black bears up there, though, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
You guys hunt the crap out of them, which is good.
Yep.
Because they're also hell on them.
Yep.
What? So is that coyote? Are they big of a much of a factor with the cow elk and calf elk population? I assume deer are probably more susceptible to just because of sheer size.
Yeah.
But because the cows they're calving right there too.
They are. I'd have to go back and look at the Game and Fish data on calf counts and calf recruitment, but I don't think there was much going on there.
Really?
The elk in there are suffering pretty good. Yeah, they came back for a while. I think we were up in that 1450 range in that herd unit, and I'd have to talk to Jordan, the game warden, but I think we're down in the 850 range now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not habitat. I mean, the habitat hasn't changed that much, has it?
No.
It's not. I mean, everybody else had a horrible winter. Not that elk are affected too much by winter because they can travel so far so quick. But we didn't have the winter that everyone else did. We had a winter, but it was just a typical winter.
Yep.
And it's not like we have an overgrowth because a bunch of that stuff burned in the 80s and has never come back. It's not like it's got a canopy problem.
No, I think honestly it would be interesting to pull some data from Game and Fish, but I think we saw the elk number fall in relation to 2 projects they did in there. One was logging on Camp Creek, mm-hmm. which was right in a migration corridor mm-hmm. at that time of year.
At the time of year, because they were doing it right in the fall.
Yeah, they did it in the fall and early winter. And then the second project was the rebuilding of the lower switchback on Dead Indian. And that project was obviously right in the middle of that migration corridor where they come over the top to Bald Ridge. And that project ran 24 hours a day. Yeah,
that's hard. That's a giant no-go area for elk.
Yep. And I think if you looked at some of the Game and Fish data, you would see that some of those elk actually migrated north of the Clarks Fork River.
Oh, really?
And then there was 2 major burns over there. And so they got into
attractive.
They got into some really good food, mm-hmm. and they haven't come back. It would be interesting to see that, how one herd went down and the other one went up. If they would give us that data, you know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And you know, those things that we don't, as just regular Joe Blow, even Joe Blow hunters, I never thought about that. I mean, I remember that logging, and even early snowmobile season, they were still logging up there.
Yep.
You know, in December. And I remember thinking, well, you and I saw the day after wolf season, there was one standing in the middle of the road. Yep. But it never even occurred to me that would be significant.
Yeah, and I'm not a biologist, but I saw that correlation to when those elk weren't migrating over onto Bald Ridge, and all of a sudden they were cutting those cow tags, wondering what happened to the migration, and afterwards you kind of put it together, right?
Yeah. That's interesting. So, what do you don't own the Skidoo shop anymore?
No.
Got out of that and retired, semi-retired, retreaded, as my dad calls it.
Yeah.
I don't retire. I retreaded. Now I'm doing stuff I want to do.
Exactly.
What are you doing now that you want to do?
Oh, I mean, now I'm building custom rifles part-time, kind of. I build those in the winter, basically, and I guide in the fall. And
You enjoy building custom rifles?
it's fun, yeah. Something to do.
So are you using your own parts, or are you Frankenstein and, using this action and that barrel and screwing around with this and somebody else's stock? And
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes a custom rifle is for you to come in and say, geez, I really like a Mac Brothers action or a Stiller action. And I looked online and the bench rest guys are shooting Bartline barrels or proof barrels or, and so that's the custom part of it, right? You can pick your color, you can pick your action, your barrel, whatever you want.
is it mostly for, guys that are one-time hunting, or are these guys that are going to use it for years and years and years?
Mostly, long-term investment. And a lot of the guns I build are lightweight builds for sheep hunters, goat hunters,
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because your mix is really interesting. The actions you're using, the stocks you're using, and I was really interested in your barrels, because your barrels are carbon with steel.
Some of them,
yeah. And you're straightening them, which that whole thing.
I'm not straightening them.
You're not?
No. Try to use the straightest barrels we can find.
What makes a straight barrel?
I think
And they're never straight, and they're never perfect.
they're never straight.
Because they're a man-made product.
It actually surprises people when they walk in my shop and they look at my lathe with a barrel spinning, and the end of it's going like this. Like, holy cow, that's bent. Well, not really, but
When it's going 60,000,
yeah,
it is.
yeah. When you're turning them a couple hundred RPMs and they're moving 60,000s up and down, it looks a lot.
Yeah.
The good barrel manufacturers are stress relieving those barrels several times.
What does that mean?
It's a heat process, that takes the stress out of the steel after it's machined. And I think the better they do that and more cycles of that makes a straighter barrel.
Okay. So what's an average barrel versus something that, is above average?
The average barrels I see have 60,000s roughly run out, 40 to 60,000s. Really good barrels are down in the low teens.
No kidding. Mm-hmm. That much.
Yep.
Up to 4 or 5 times the
Yep.
difference. The other thing you were telling me about is they all have a bend in them, no matter what. What? How does that affect?
They all shoot good or are capable of shooting good, whether they have 40,000s bend or 10,000s bend. But
Right.
the difference between a mass-produced rifle and one that's produced in a small shop is we have the opportunity to time that curve so that it's in line with the recoil lug and the stock and how you're putting it on a sandbag or a rest.
So you're spinning them, finding where the bend is, and then timing that bend.
Yep.
So you're not using the lathe to straighten it, you're using the lathe to find out where that bend is.
Yep. Yeah, when I'm chambering it, when you indicate it in on the breech end, you can see which way the muzzle is curved in relation to the breech end. And so we try to indicate in several inches of the chamber end of your barrel so that your chamber is straight with the first few inches of rifling.
What is that? So I'm trying to figure out explain why that's important.
So when your bullet's leaving your case, you want it to be in line exactly with the rifling.
Oh, so it's not cattywampus.
Yeah.
It's exactly with rifling.
Yep.
So it starts spinning the right.
Yeah, and it's not leaving at a different angle than your rifling, because that's going to introduce harmonics into your barrel.
Oh,
right.
Barrel whip.
Yeah, barrel whip is starting as soon as the bullet leaves chamber. Leaves the brass. And
does it have a tendency to whip
away or away from the curve?
I'm not that much of a scientist. But
You haven't looked that far down to it.
No.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Eberly Stock. Eberly Stock is one of my favorite backpacks. Now, I've been wearing their backpack for almost 20 years. They have lightweight backpacks. They have modular backpacks, everything from their main frame, which is just a frame pack that you can put bags on. They have these cool outside called bat wings that you can use. So check them out at eberlystock.com and make sure you tell them Ike sent you. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Hornady. They make some of the best, most accurate, dependable ammo on the planet. No matter if you're coyote hunting or plink and steel or hunting big game out west or even going to Africa, they make a bullet or an ammo just for you. Some of the most accurate and dependable ammo on the planet. Also, check out my podcast with Steve Hornady and learn about ammo as well as their story and some funny anecdotes from Steve.
No, but so the idea is to get that as straight as you can for as far as you can into the barrel, right?
Okay.
So it lines up perfect. And when you indicate that in on your lathe, you can see which way the muzzle end is curved. And so I time them up. And what that does, there's several things it does. You get more vertical adjustment out of your scope.
Okay.
Okay, because you're not in the lower half of your adjustment if the curve was down.
Right.
And also when the gun recoils, I would think, I'm not a scientist and I haven't photographed it with a super slow speed camera or high speed camera to catch that. But I would think that the bullet is leaving the barrel on the up curve, pushing the gun into the bag.
Oh, instead of pushing the gun away from the
So
bag.
if your curve is down, in theory, it would try to lift it on the bag or a bipod or whatever you're shooting on.
Which probably doesn't affect. Well, it would, because then the barrel doesn't travel as far because it's got a second point of lock contact.
Yeah. And
even with a floated barrel.
Yeah, even a floated barrel. Yeah. And you think about that. Let's just say your barrel curve on a mass-produced rifle just happens to be at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now you're introducing a whip that's sideways, right?
Yeah, that makes sense because it's got to be. It's pushing against that curve, just like water going down a ditch. It hits that curve, and that's where the friction is.
Yep.
And so if it's sideways, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you're getting barrel whip sideways.
Yeah, you ever shoot an old factory rifle 15 years ago, and when you sight the thing in, you're like, man, I'm almost out of left-right adjustment.
Yeah, yeah.
That's probably why that is.
Huh.
You know, and it's your harmonic whip in your barrel is not in a straight line. It's going to be an elliptical shape. You know, and when that elliptical is at 3 o'clock, I don't think that's a good thing.
No. Sure logically doesn't make sense, right?
Well, 3 o'clock, cool. 9 o'clock is probably the worst case, right?
Yep. That's pretty cool. So you this year you built a gun for auction at the Wyoming Outdoorsman.
Yep.
And that went pretty good.
Yeah.
The other thing to kind of get back to that you guys do is you get a fair amount of the commissioner's tags, right?
We just get one.
Okay.
Years ago we had the opportunity to have a few years there, and hopefully we can get back to that. You know, it's a matter of convincing the right commissioners that we're doing the right things. And we started a scholarship endowment this year, so hopefully we can, if we did happen to get another commissioner tag, we can build that endowment.
Scholarship for college for kids. Or
for we
trade
give away this year. We gave 10 scholarships, $1,000 scholarships.
Nice.
10 kids from all around the state. Actually, there was kids from Cheyenne, Cody Powell.
It's one of the things that I'm just always shocked about, and especially this state because it's so small. It's how many scholarships are available if kids just go get them.
Yeah,
just put in the time, write an essay, and it doesn't have to be insane.
Yep.
I know that's the last thing a high school kid wants to do is do more writing, but you're going to college, get used to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's that?
It's amazing how giving our community is to youth.
It is.
You know, we get a lot of, when we go around asking for donations for our banquet, one of the most popular things we do are lifetime conservation stamps, lifetime combo tags for kids, you know.
Actually, I think my niece won it there one year at your guys' deal.
Yep.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Wyoming is a unique place in the sense that we have lifetime conservation, small game, birds, and fishing licenses.
Yep.
And,
archery.
Yep, archery.
Yep.
And the cool thing about, but you got to live here 10 years, so it's not you just become a resident, but you got to live here 10 years. And if those kids, and this is why my girls are going to get them for their 16th birthday, those kids leave, say they go to college or say they get married and move to Denver, God forbid, let's hope that doesn't happen. But if they leave, that still counts. You're a lifetime member of that, no matter where you live, which is really cool.
It's a great program.
It is. We were talking about it just the other day in the office. You know, some of the guys here, their kids they got to live here, which means your kid it's got to be 10 in order to even put in for them. And but I didn't know one of his daughters won it at something. I don't know if it was a commissioner's meeting or if it was the Wyoming Outdoorsman, and they just held it till she turned 10.
So they did that at one of the commissioner meetings. Actually, it was a meeting in Powell.
Yeah, I think that's where she won it.
Yep. Dave Rail was the commissioner then, and I think he somehow got that done. I would like to get that if the Game and Fish would allow it at our banquet.
Yeah.
Because it does limit us to kids over 10. And
right.
We've done it so long now that our pool of kids that are eligible to win that is shrinking.
Because they're just winning them, right?
Yeah, we're giving out 10 or 12 a year, you know. And if you have 50 or 60 kids show up at the banquet,
doesn't take long before there's only 2 or 3 left.
Yeah. And so it would be nice to talk the commission into giving us a letter and holding that.
Yep.
Like they did at the Powell meeting.
Yep. It's pretty cool. So one of the other things that you're doing, actually this year, you through the outfitting buddy that you work for here, one of our guys, Luke Washington, drew a sheep tag. And 26, don't ask me. The odds is like 0.01 or some dumb. I mean, it was first time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the first time he put in, but pretty much 0 points, and drew it on the random.
Yep.
And you guys went on that hunt, which was a lot of fun. I've heard some funny stories and a lot of mule stories. So what was the mule logic? Is that what it was called?
I don't even remember. Yeah, there was a joke on the mountain about mule code. Somebody was doing something that wasn't real intelligent, and I said, "Man, that's against the mule code." And
that's how you get your head kicked in.
Yeah, so that kind of stuck for the rest of the hunt. But
that should be common knowledge.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you're doing is you're part owner in an outfit in British Columbia, right?
I did invest in a camp up there, just a 5-year investment. I helped finance a camp up there, and yeah, it's a great place to go.
What's its name?
It's called Kildala Adventures.
Kildala.
Yep. Toddigan Hodson is the outfitter. We have world-class mountain goats and just a great coastal spring black bear hunt, vessel-based.
Vessel-based. So you're motoring around and along the coast and finding bears or finding areas, and then are you spot and stock, or is it out of tree stands or
spot
bait?
And stock? Yep. All of BC is non-bait.
Okay.
And yeah, Toddigan takes a big barge, hauls it out in the ocean about 40 miles roughly, and then has a houseboat that he docks at the barge, and then you hunt in skiffs from there. So
the barge is like rooms and showers, and that's like the lodge.
Eventually it will be.
Oh, okay.
Right now they cook on the barge, and there's a kitchen shack on there, and then some bunks for the guides and cook and stuff on there, but the hunters stay in the houseboat.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. A lot of fun. You set out crab traps in the morning and prawn traps, and
That's one thing about spring bear hunt. You don't have to get up too early because they're lazy little buggers.
They are lazy, and the days are really long.
Yeah, so. Especially that time of year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So mountain goat hunting, that's one of my favorite things. I got the opportunity in 2006 to shoot my mountain goat, and it was one of my favorite deals. I wish I would have, it's on my bucket list to do again. You guys do it pretty unique because it's, do you hunt all the way from August all the way through November?
We start September 1st, actually, and then we hunt into November and then quit and then hunt them again in February.
February?
Yeah.
How are you hunting them in February?
It's a winter goat hunt.
Because they don't migrate.
No, you're hunting them in the snow. And
is it snowshoeing?
Snowshoes and crampons. And
really?
Yeah.
Now there's an adventure.
I think that's probably one of the toughest hunts on the planet.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So you're riding snowmobiles up to where you can't get any further, and then snowshoe and crampon and suffer.
Yeah, you find a goat that you want to go after, and you take off on snowshoes and pack a track as far as you can go that day, and then you head back down the mountain, and the next morning those snowshoe tracks are frozen solid, and you just truck up to where you quit and
put them back on, do it again.
Back on, and, yeah.
Are you camping? Because I don't know if I want to be camping outside in February.
You can do that. Most of them come back to town and stay in a hotel that night and then go back out.
Warm shower, warm up, and that's an interesting hunt.
Yeah, some incredible hair, foot long hair on those goats and big billies.
Yeah, because I've seen some of the photos. You guys are killing big goats.
Big goats, yeah.
Like, I think I've told you this. There's a really good chance you're going to shoot the next world record out of that.
That 62-inch goat, that's the record now. That might be tough. But
yeah.
I think last fall, I have to ask Todd again for sure, but I believe they killed a goat over 57 and one in the 56 range, and a lot of book goats.
That's big.
Yeah.
And they have a goat problem. They have a lot of goats in that country.
There's a lot of goats. Yeah. A lot of it's just inaccessible,
Right. And that's probably why you're doing it in the winter, because it doesn't sound like but it's probably more accessible in the winter, just because you can cover so much country on sleds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get further in faster.
Yeah. And just different country that you might not be able to fly to in the fall, because there's no lakes there or whatever.
Right.
And
not a flat spot big enough to land anything.
Yeah.
Huh.
Probably the best goat hunt as far as really good hair and the opportunity to kill a giant goat is the November.
Because they're
it's
breeding.
Rut,
Yeah, they're rutting.
Hunt, and
that's when I shot mine. I shot mine like 2 days after Thanksgiving in southern BC.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're easy to tell the billies versus the nannies, and you can tell a big one really fast, and because they're the ones that are pushing things around.
Sure, you bet. Yeah, that gland on their head swells up. You can tell that they're billy, and
their butts all turn yellow.
Yeah.
Huh, that's really interesting. So what's next? What's coming up this fall? Are you drawing tags? I do not. So those that pay attention to our magazine, actually, Dustin has been on our cover 3 times.
I think so.
3 times. Your daughter was on there.
Yeah.
You were on there with Brendan twice.
Brendan once, and Rob Shaw.
Shaw, that's right, Rob Shaw. Yep.
Yep.
I forgot about Rob.
Yeah.
He's a pain in my butt. So, put in the girls. The daughter's going to hunt again this year, even though in college, or is that going to stop?
Hopefully she'll draw a tag. Yeah.
Weekend warrior.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what her final schedule is, what days she could actually hunt, but we'll make time.
Yeah. You got a guide this year?
Yeah. Slowing down a little this year. I'm going to do 1 sheep hunt for sure for John, and maybe a goat hunt, sounds like.
You killed a big goat last year.
2 really nice goats. One was exceptional goat.
Was broomed off one side, right?
He was broken on one side. Yep.
How big would he been if you'd duplicated tough.
If you double the one side, he's somewhere around 52.5. Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah, I think the state record's like 51 1/8, I think.
Yep. Just shy of, or just over 51.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was a big goat and just crazy big bodied goat too. Like a lot bigger than any billy I've been around.
Really?
Yeah.
One of those ones you go, that's going to take a lot to get out of here.
Yeah.
Just the hide.
You know what? We've been weighing our packs, and I think we average somewhere between 60 and 70 pounds of meat, boned out meat on a goat. That goat, we came back with over 90 pounds of meat.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it was just giant.
So. Well, and then the hides, did you life size it?
I don't know. Roy Skinner shot that goat, and I don't know that he's decided. So.
But you bring it out.
Oh, yeah, we skinned it life size, yeah.
Which those hides that's a lot, especially if they're late and they got lots of hair.
Yeah, that was early. I think, I want to say we weighed his pack was in the high 60s.
Jeez.
So, yeah, that was a fun hunt. And then my brother-in-law shot a nice goat, 9 5/8 goat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did it make book?
I don't know that he's had it final score, but it won't make all time. Might make the awards book.
And my goat missed the awards by 2/8 of an inch. It's like,
that's a good goat though.
Yeah, if he wouldn't have went down the rock slide and broomed 2/8 of an inch, if we wouldn't have taken a 1/4 inch off one side, he would have made it. But
yeah,
it happens. It's okay. He's still huge. He's like that. His body was giant. In fact, when they mounted him, they had to pretty much every chunk of that form they had to add foam to it because the hide was just laid off of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the taxidermist said he added almost a third to the form. It's big.
Yeah, I think that's what they'll end up doing with Roy's. That when we took it into Nature's Design, Ray had a bunch of goats hanging there, and it was like a foot longer.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Just crazy. So
that
was fun to be part of that. And Roy, he's a good guy and hunted hard, so it was fun.
Yeah, local guy, drew the tag.
Yep.
That's good. Kill any big elk this year?
One. I only took one elk hunter this year. I want to say his bull was in the low 360s.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
So what do you think's going on with the elk herd as far as the bulls? Do you think they're moving? Do you think they're changing their pattern? Or do you think we're taking the top of the cream of the crop off?
Depends on the area.
Yeah.
You know, that Crandall Sunlight stuff, when you only have 800 elk total in the herd, it
doesn't take much.
Not much to pick from, right? So, not that herd's doing terrible. I mean, we're still killing bulls, but, you know, we would all like to see it back up. I think herd objective in there is 1650.
So it's half.
Yeah.
Half of what it was.
Yep.
Is that counting the park elk? Are they doing that count after they're migrating?
They are. Yep.
So you're counting park elk too?
Yep.
Because there's a pile of park elk that come out that side.
It used to be.
Well, yeah, when they were there.
Yeah, I mean that postseason count, I think they're doing those flights in February.
Okay.
So it would be everything that's there.
Yeah.
Migrating elk and resident elk. So
well, and this year we didn't get the weather to push those bulls out of there very, very easily.
You know, I thought we had a decent migration. I was in there wolf hunting, you know, into December till the quota got filled, and I never really saw any more migration.
Really?
No. You know, those migrations have changed. I mean, we used to hunt that till the 7th of December.
Yeah.
And I think just our presence there held that migration back. Now we hunt them till the 30th of October. And then there's no one really there after that.
Right.
A few wolf hunters, and, you know, it's a limited quota deer hunt after that with, 25 tags?
Yeah, almost none.
So there's really no human pressure there to stop that migration anymore.
And it's not like those deer hunters are, you know, going the backcountry like the elk hunters. Maybe one or two, but most of them are hunting low.
Yeah, front country stuff.
Because they're rutting.
Yep.
They're hunting does.
Yep. So in that area, I mean, I think that's what happened to the bulls. The numbers are just down overall. You know, and it's still, like say, a good opportunity to kill a big one here or there.
Yeah, it's interesting country.
So
beautiful. It's one of the best kept secrets in the lower 48.
yeah, it's phenomenal.
But you have to deal with grizzly bears, and
Yep.
a lot of them.
Lots of them.
My dad was up there 2 days ago. He was up taking photos of flowers, and he said, "Yep, ran into the game fish. They had a trailer with a bear in it."
Yeah.
I was like, "How do you know there's a bear in it?" He goes, "Because they cover the back window.
Yep.
If there's cover the back window, there's a bear in it." I said, "So they were taking it up or taking it down?" He goes, "No, there's a naughty bear. They were bringing it somewhere else, bringing it down from there." So
Yep. Yeah, I know they killed a couple. There's two 2-year-olds killing cows on the 2-dot right now.
oh,
so.
is there? Maybe that's what they're after.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows up in Crandall? What's, you know.
Yeah.
It's that time of year. You pass bear traps every day.
Yep.
Going one way or the other.
They just play. What did my dad used to call it? The bear circus. They move bears from this side up there that are naughty, and then bears from this side that down over there that are naughty.
Yep.
Just move them around until they get, was it 3 times, and then they're out?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Now we move them to Montana, right? So they.
Oh, I didn't know
breed.
that.
Yeah, I think that got approved last year,
Really?
maybe the year before.
So where are they putting them, out on the plains?
I don't know. I think they're bringing us their trouble bears, and we're taking our bears up there, so that that's that whole interbreeding thing, right?
Oh, so they're trying to diversify. Yeah, they're trying to diversify the population.
Yep.
I did hear about that.
Hopefully that'll help with our delisting.
Yeah, that would be nice. Hopefully we get that sooner than later,
Hopefully.
because they need managed like everything else.
Yep.
So, well, Dustin, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for a conversation and
You bet. It's always fun.
enlightening us on barrels and wolves and coyotes and
Yeah.
lions. Oh my! You don't hunt lions, do you?
I don't. No.
I don't think my neighbors want me to have dogs. I'm pretty sure.
That's my issue too. For the amount of work it takes to keep dogs, I would rather just pay someone else that has dogs to go lion hunt.
No, that's right. That's right. Somebody that really enjoys it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching,
you.
guys. Check Dustin out. Okay, so Wyoming Outdoorsman's Group.
Yep.
What's the custom gun company?
My gun business is Wyoming Outdoors Unlimited.
Okay.
I don't have a web page, but I'm on
That's not going to
Facebook.
get confusing at all.
No, not at all. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the hunting camp up in BC.
Kildala Adventures.
How do you spell
Limited.
Kildala?
Kildala.
Okay, Kildala. So check those out if you're interested in any of that. And obviously appreciate you listening to the conversation. And remember, this is this type of conversations you get from Eastmans Journal Podcast. Every time I've had Willie Robertson on, I've had a ton of guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification so that you can hear other conversations just like this.